on. I was waiting, so.
All right, Megan, are you ready to start things?
No, I'm driving.
Oh,
Okay, I have Nancy who has the thing, so I will just let Nancy start the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Nancy.
Okay, give me a second. I'm going to go.
we want to welcome our television audience, any other guests, members, and interpreters. We want to inform the audience that rebroadcasts of these meetings are presented at 5 p.m. on each Monday evening on Cox Channel 22. Video of the meeting can also be viewed at the Disabilities Commission website at www.cityofomaha.org. Then click on the Mayor's Office, then click on Disabilities Commission-Chair. We want to remind the members and the audience of the MCCD mission, purpose, and meeting format. The purpose of our commission is to promote the quality of life, accessibility, and equity in all aspects related to the City of Omaha on behalf of and in cooperation with the citizens of Omaha who experience disabilities. This commission board advises the mayor on issues of access, representation, employment, housing, quality of life affecting citizens with disabilities and their respective families. We serve as a resource for Omaha citizens with disabilities and their families to express concerns and resolutions regarding issues affecting them. We publicize to the citizens of Omaha the role of the Mayor's Advisory Commission for Citizens with Disabilities and the resources available to assist citizens with disabilities, employers, housing representatives, business owners, engineers, and architects, and others who have a role in bettering the life of Omaha citizens. And lastly, we serve as an advocate for accessibility issues at public buildings and infrastructure governed by the city codes and ordinances, and issues affecting employment of disabled persons in the city of government, and recommend to the mayor policies to improve accessibility and employment with the city for citizens with disabilities. We will hopefully have some announcements at the end of the meeting, so it would be really good to have a pen and paper to take notes in the course of our meeting. I am Nancy Floral. I am a retired vocational rehabilitation supervisor with the Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, serving individuals that were visually impaired, blind, and deafblind. Also present today is Megan Walls.
Hi, yes, I'm Megan Walls. My company is Disabilities. I work in the realm of disability across the lifespan and environment, so I help bring that perspective to the commission, and I also currently sit as the vice chair for the commission.
Thank you, Megan. As we didn't have a quorum for our pre-meeting meeting, we did not conduct our usual business, so our last month's minutes will be moved forward for approval at our October meeting. We want to take a minute to welcome Brian Cruz with the Douglas County Election Commissioner, and he is going to do a presentation for us today.
I'll get your PowerPoint pulled up here and we'll share it. Slideshow from beginning.
Good to go. Okay. Well, good afternoon, and thanks for inviting me. Yes, I'm the election commissioner for Douglas County, and my deputy is Chris Carithers. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the office, a little bit about election security, and then a little bit about voting rights, disability, and how you can vote independently if you do have a disability. So I'll go through my presentation, and then if there's questions at the end, sure, we'll be happy to answer any of those. So in October of 2019, we moved into a new building. It's at 12220 West Center Road. It's in the Bel Air Plaza. For longtime Omahans, it was built as a Richmond Gordman back in the day. And then Heafy and Hoffman Funeral Home had a temporary location there when they had their fire several years ago, and were displaced. Uh, we're close to the interstate at 114th and Center. The bus stops near our building there on Center Street. And this location is pretty well near the center of the population of Douglas County. Our website, we also redid and unveiled our new website when we moved into the building. It's very simple. It's just votedouglascounty.com. There's all kinds of information you can find on it. It's fairly easy to navigate. The 4 icons we have are the 4 big ones. So, registered voters in Douglas County. As you can see, there are 354,544 registered voters as of September 1st. That number fluctuates literally day by day, hour by hour. People are registering online at the DMV. We get death records. People are moving out in. So we update this once a month at the first of the month. You can see those registered as Democrat outweigh Republicans in the county. Nonpartisans are about 25% of our registered voters. We have 5,700 libertarians basically, and the Legal Marijuana Now Party is nearly 2,000 individuals. So there's 4 acknowledged parties and then the nonpartisans. So election integrity, that has been a hot topic since the 2020 election. So I'll just talk about that a little bit. We start with election integrity with the physical part of it from our new building. The building is built of brick. There's no windows in the building except for the very front in the lobby. We have bollards in front of the door, the glass doors there as protection. Once you enter the building, there's a counter there where we service customers. There's an ADA counter, as well as 8 other stations. Behind that counter, there's 2 windows into the counting room. So you can look in there and see that's where we count all the ballots. That's where we print all the ballots. If you go through some secure doors, there's bigger windows in the back viewing for media and also for watchers. Sometimes by law, parties will send watchers to watch the counting of the ballots. So there's controlled access any place other than the lobby. It's a card swipe, and then there are certain areas that require a card swipe plus a pin pad, so double authentication. So basically where ballots are. So the counting room, where we store them, are the 2 big ones. There are wall safes inside of our vault, and that keeps the thumb drives that we get the results from the machines off of until we're ready to combine those and push those out to the public. And then on election day, we physically have Douglas County sheriffs on site, and on certain other days too, the Monday before, but especially election day. And then the sheriff's department also helps with all of our traffic control after the polls have closed at 8 o'clock and all of the ballots are brought back to our office. There's 231 precincts, So there's 231 cars that come back in about a 2 hour and 45-minute period. And the sheriff's department directs all of those, as well as provides physical security when we're unloading those ballots from the cars until they get inside our building. Then we have deputies inside the building as well. So by mail, many people enjoy to vote by mail now. 50% of all voters in Douglas County now choose to vote by mail. I will just say the number one reason that we hear that individuals like to vote by mail is they can sit at their kitchen table and they can research candidates, issues, judges, all of those races that they may not know a lot about. Next year, 99% of the people are going to know about who their choice for president is, 2 senators, a congressman. But once you start getting down to what we call those down ballots, so school board members, county offices, all of those types of things, we've heard people just enjoy to sit at home and do their research on those. In Nebraska, you must request a ballot in writing. We will check the signature on the request as well as when the ballot is returned. You can go to our vote early by mail icon and you can look at the status of both your request and when you return the ballot to see if it's been accepted or rejected. The number one reason ballots are rejected is because individuals forget to sign them. You must sign your ballot. The good news is you have until close of poll on the elections, but you do have to come to our office. And if you come to our office, we'll find your ballot, you can sign it, and then it will be accepted. If your ballot is rejected, our office will reach out to you if we have an email or a phone number on file. So that's why when you request a ballot, we have a place for a phone number and an email. It says for office use only. It truly is only for our office. We don't share it with anybody else, but it's really vital that you put some form of communication down there in case we do have a problem with your ballot. We can get in touch with you and help you ensure that your voice is heard. Ballots, once you mail your request in, you can start doing that 120 days ahead of time. Once you mail your request in, give us that first big log that comes in. Give us about 30 days to get all of those entered. So if you mail your request in and you don't see it right away, check back in a couple weeks, because we literally have tens of thousands of those that we're processing, and it just takes time. You can also always call our office 444-VOTE if you don't have the ability to check via smartphone or online. You can also do that for your return ballots. We conduct a audit every day. We have 2 different systems that we check ballots in. So once ballots go out 30 days ahead of an election, then we start picking those up from our drop boxes around the county. And every day we scan. You'll notice on your ballot it has a barcode, and we scan that barcode in every day so we know which drop box you placed it in or if it came via U.S. mail. And we have 2 different systems we do that. So at the end of the day, those systems will match up to ensure, that we've got everybody's ballot and one didn't get accidentally left on a desk or something of that nature. Then all of those ballots are stored in the vault until the counting process actually starts. Again, that's a brief overview. You can go to the Vote Early by Mail icon on our homepage. There's a lot more information there about that. So the machines, we do use election system and software machines. We use the DS Digital Scanning 850. It's just the name of the machine. I have 9 of those machines. Those machines are never hooked to the internet or each other. when those machines are running, we can push about 250 pieces of paper per minute through each machine. So it's pretty fun to see them working. We do all kinds of tests before the election happens to ensure that they're counting accurately, all the machines. In fact, anytime a ballot's handled in our office, it's operated by a bipartisan team. Nonpartisans are included in that. So it's a team of two differing parties or one individual being a nonpartisan. After we count all the results on election night, then each machine has a thumb drive. We take all of those thumb drives, and my deputy and myself will go to our IT department. I've got two IT gentlemen on staff. The four of us, there's a laptop there. The laptop's independent, it's hardened, there's nothing on it else, and it's not connected to the internet. So we will take all of those thumb drives from the machines, put them on the air gap computer, and that compiles and combines all of the results. Then what we do is we have an external CD writer. So we actually burn those results on a CD, like your old CDs you used to play at home or in your car. Then we take that CD and then we put it on a computer that's hooked to the outside world. And that's how the results are put on our website and the media. Also on our website, you will notice on our website on reporting night, we don't have really any fancy pie charts or graphs or anything like that. Again, these results come right off of a PDF report. It almost looks like an old typewriter. And so we put those directly on our website. It's another layer of protection. The PDFs, I never like to use absolute. PDFs, I'm sure, can be hacked and can be changed, but it takes a lot longer to change one of those, than it does a chart or a graph. So additional measures we have paper ballots in Nebraska. You will all see that you fill in the ovals just like you did in testing. We print and program all of our ballots in-house. In Douglas County, we print all of our ballots and they never leave our office till they go into the mail to be mailed out to individuals or sent to the polling places. We're the only county in Nebraska that does that. And then we have an extensive canvass or audit process after the election that we audit every precinct and every split and make sure the number of people that signed in the book at the polling places matches the number of ballots for that precinct that were sent through the machines. After that, beyond that, the Secretary of State will assign us certain races in certain precincts. We had 3 last time, and then we go and get those ballots after they've been counted, and we sit down again with pairs of a bipartisan team with different individuals, and we literally take the ballots. One person will read, and one person will make hash marks. And so it truly is a post-election hand count. And then we make sure that those match up with our machines. In the 3 that we had in 2022 general, it was about 2,400 total votes between the 3 races and the 3 precincts. And we were perfect in Douglas County. So how to vote? Again, early voting by mail. You must request a writing. If you can request it 120 days ahead of an election. In Douglas County, we have what we call a permanent early vote by mail list. If you like to vote by mail, you can sign up for that on our website, and then it's what we've come to know in Douglas County as the green cards. So before the election, we will send you a green postcard. And if you want to request a ballot, you just sign that and return it. If you don't, you can shred it, throw it away, and show up at the polling place. It's your choice. Um, those are usually sent out about 90 days ahead of an election. So you can request 120. We usually send out our list about 90 days. Half of the voters in Douglas County are on our permanent list. Maybe a little more. It's about 177,000 people that are on that list. Next year, you can look for the green card for the primary to come in mid-February, and then end of July, early August for the general election. There is a deadline. It's the second Friday prior to the election is the last day to actually request a ballot be mailed to you. If you choose to vote in a person in our office, that starts 30 days prior to the election, and you could come to our office at 122nd and Center and do that. We have an ADA voting room, has a door on it. It's right off of the lobby. It's got the machine that we'll see in a little bit in there. It's completely self-sufficient, or you can bring someone to help you if you choose. If you choose to go to the polling place, polls are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on election day. 231 precincts, 212 voting locations. So some locations we will have 2 precincts, like St. Vincent de Paul Catholic Church at 144th and Maple, built a huge new, center. What do you want to say? Like a social hall a few years ago. So they have the room to do 2 precincts there. The door's right next to the parking lot. It's wheelchair accessible. So sometimes we will use a physical building for 2 locations. This is what our drop boxes look like in Douglas County. We have 13 of them around the county, and all of our drop boxes have a camera on them. So they are monitored 24 hours a day. 77% on average of the voters in Douglas County who choose to vote by mail use one of our drop boxes to return their ballot. We encourage individuals to use our drop boxes for both the request and the ballot. It's the most direct way to us. The only people that see them when you use one of our drop boxes is you and our staff. Some of them are drive up, and some of them unfortunately are not, but we have a drive up location at our office. We have several other drive up locations. Drive up location at the Asian Market. There's a drive up location at Spring Ridge. So there are several around the county that are. So the express vote, some of you may have used this. This has replaced the old AutoMark. For those of you that may remember that, these came into existence in 2020. So these are independent. They're basically what we like to say a giant pencil. It simply marks what you choose. These ballots are then printed on paper, brought back to the office, and ran through the exact same counting machine as everybody else. So they're treated in the same manner. Blind or visually impairment, you can see the mouse there that has the braille and the raised buttons as well. There's headphones for the hearing impairment. And if an individual has a sip and puff tube they would like to bring, there is a port on the machine for that as well for them to use if they choose to. We have one of these in our office, and every voting location has one of these. So just give you some idea what it takes to run an election. In the 2024 presidential general, so about a year from now, it will take 2,800 election workers in Douglas County. About 2,300 of those are poll workers. Other boards we have opening board where individuals physically take the ballots out of the early voting ballots, get those ready to go. Machine operators that run the machines. there's ballot prep crew. After we run the ballots through the machines, then there's sealing and storage. So we seal the ballots in boxes and store them in our vault. We have about 40 telephone operators on election day. We strive in a presidential general to have four Hispanic or Spanish speaking operators. We always have two, but we try to have four. There's extra board workers with that many people. It's just the law of averages. Some folks will get sick, some will have to leave early, some unfortunately won't show up. That number's very low, thankfully. Um, so that what it consists of. We do pay at least minimum wage, and minimum wage is going up January 1st to $12. So everybody's getting a raise from $9 to $12 an hour. If you're interested in becoming a poll worker, we're always looking for great poll workers. Again, you can do that on our website, votedouglascounty.com. So, voter ID, that's the big change for next year. This is still a work in progress. The, the voters voted it in. The senators, the unicameral, the legislature has passed what it will be. Now the Secretary of State's office has begun implementation. There's a big conference in October in Kearney that all the election officials are going to, including our office, where we will get many more answers for this. There was, I believe, 1.1 or 1.2 million put into the bill for education. And so there will be a big education campaign coming statewide from the Secretary of State's office, and they're working on that as we speak. So, the big thing is you will now need a valid photo ID. It can be expired. It can be expired, but it must include the voter's name and photo. You don't have to have an address, just a name and a photo. So, forms of ID that will be accepted. The valid photo ID includes a document issued by the United States government, such as military ID, U.S. passports, the state of Nebraska. So, if you work for the state of Nebraska, a state ID. Colleges or university IDs that are public or private in Nebraska, a Nebraska political subdivision ID, so City of Omaha, Douglas County, public schools, so long as it's got your name and photo on it. Hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living, that can either be for employees or for individuals that are residing there, and then a recognized Native American tribe if you have a tribal ID for that. Again, there is a link on our website that will link you to the Secretary of State's website that talks about voter ID. You know, this is a somewhat of a partial list, and again, this is evolving as we're moving forward here. If you cannot obtain an ID, there is a reasonable impediment certification that the individual will be able to fill out that will allow them not to have a photo ID. So it can be due to a disability or illness. It could be due to lack of a birth certificate or other required documents to get a valid photo ID. Maybe if you were born in another state, or birth certificate's unable to be obtained. We know sometimes with adoption there can be some issues there, things of that nature, or you have a religious objection to being photographed. So you just need to fill out this reasonable impediment certification. And again, there'll be more information coming forth on that from the Secretary of State's office and our office. So, if you're one of the 50% that like to vote by mail, you will need to do that when you request your ballot. When you request your ballot. So you will need to write your driver's license number or state ID number on the request, or you can enclose a photocopy of an acceptable form of ID with that. So on our green cards, there will be a line on there for the driver's license or state ID number. And if you put that in one of our drop boxes, again, that's only between you and the election commission. You do have the option to mail that back through the US mail. Just be aware that if you don't put it in an envelope or something like that, your information could potentially be available to those from the post office that are working on that. But again, if you use one of our drop boxes, that's only our office and you. If you want to enclose a photocopy of an acceptable form of ID, you can do that too. There'll be instructions on there, but then please attach the two, put them in an envelope, and make sure that they're together. If you choose to vote in person at our office or a polling place, you just show an acceptable form of ID. We're expecting the vast majority of individuals to either show a driver's license or an ID, both at the polling place and at our office, if that's how they choose to vote. And again, if you show up at our office or at a polling place and you don't have your ID with you, any form of ID, then voters will be allowed to do a special provisional ballot, essentially, and then they will have 1 week until the Tuesday after the election at close of business to come to our office and then provide an acceptable form of ID in order to make their ballot, to make that provisional accepted and for their voice to be heard. Upcoming election dates: presidential primary will be May 14th, presidential general November 5th next year. Then we turn right around and go into the city of Omaha elections April 1st, and 5 weeks later will be May 13th. In the city of Omaha, the mayor and all 7 council people are up once every 4 years. Usually those are the only things on the ballot. Sometimes there's special issues. A school might jump in on a bond issue or something. But normally it's just the mayor and the 7 city council folks. So, folks, I guess the question is, does your vote count? And so I always like to use this as a great example. In the primary election of May 12th of 2020, County Commissioner, it's actually District 2, I believe. There's a little typo there. Sorry about that. Or it might be 4. Anyhow, but Mike Boyle, it was South Omaha. Mike Boyle, who many of you may remember, is a former county commissioner, former mayor. He's passed away now. But Roger Garcia and him were the top vote getters. You can see there was 3 vote difference. So that triggered an automatic recount. It was also a 3 vote difference after the recount. So Mr. Boyle was elected to county commissioner by 3 votes out of, you can see, 6,500 votes there. So, the percentage is extremely small on that. So I always like to point that out to say, yes, your vote absolutely does matter. So with that, I'll be happy to take questions. Again, just, you got to be registered to vote in the state of Nebraska. We encourage everybody to get registered to vote and then come out and have your voice be heard in the upcoming elections.
Very good. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask Megan first if she has any questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. I really wanted to be there to hear this and talk with you in person, because this is an exciting, I shouldn't say super exciting, but really interesting topic that impacts the disability community. So I appreciate you taking the time to come in. And forgive me if you covered this. I was driving, and so I dropped the call a couple of times, trying to get home and jump on. But for the drop boxes, are there, in general, are they near public transit stops, or is there,
an easy way for someone to find the nearest one?
So the answer is here's the map of that. We tried to disperse them evenly throughout the county. The one at our office in our parking lot um, would be available by public transit because the bus stops up on Center Street. It's also a drive up one. So the answer to your question is some of them, yes, especially the ones in East Omaha. The ones I would say in more Central and West Omaha, the bus service is not as great, I think, as we're all aware at this point in time as a practical matter. But like there's one at the South Omaha Library. I don't know for a fact, but I'm assuming there's a bus there. Uh, I'm guessing Washington Branch and Abrams Branch and Goodwill up there. I'm guessing there's fairly good bus service there. There's one here at the county courthouse that there would be good bus service to. So yes, I can't say 100% that they're going to drop you off right in front of the drop box. Um, you know, but does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's helpful. And then the other thing I was curious about, so you had said, that you have to, for, I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was just for early voting that you had to request it in writing. But what are the accepted means of, requesting it in writing? What if you have someone with a physical disability that makes it so they're unable to physically, write and sign to make that request? Can it be submitted electronically? Kind of, have you seen what have you seen, or what do you know of that would allow for those kinds of situations?
Sure. So in the state of Nebraska, you are allowed to request a ballot for yourself and two other individuals. So you can act as an agent for up to two other individuals. Anybody. It does not have to be family. It can be anybody. Now, with the voter ID law, we will need the individual who you are requesting for. So I'm just going to use this as an example. If you have a grandmother who is unable to leave, say, your home, you're her caretaker, you will need to either have a driver's license number, state ID number, a photocopy of an acceptable form of ID, or the reasonable impediment certificate signed by her, by the person you're getting the ballot for, and return that with the agent form. You can come into our office and do that in person. You can also do that through the mail.
Okay.
A voter, so you can sign for them. Now, when they return the ballot, they have to sign the ballot. So a voter, the law says they have to make their mark. So that could be an X, it could be a mark. There are certain cases, they're very limited, but if somebody really cannot, if somebody just absolutely cannot sign, the instructions say to contact our office and we will work with you. There are certain cases, we'll work with the Secretary of State's office, where a stamp may be able to be used, but those would be, exceptions and not the rule. But if you have any questions about someone who would like a ballot who just absolutely cannot make a mark, contact our office and then we work with those on a case by case basis.
Okay. That that's helpful, and gives me another question as well. So if I go through those steps and I'm requesting a ballot, by your example for my grandmother, and I ask this because I believe that I remember situations that came up in recent elections around this topic, but um, am I then allowed to, does that also then allow me to, you know, mail, drop off, handle their ballot after they've received it and completed it?
Yeah, so I would say two things on that. If someone needs help filling out a ballot, you are allowed to help them. You need to let us know. And there's a voter assistance oath that the individual helping needs to sign. And you can help the individual, but you cannot make the decisions for them. They have to tell you or instruct you as to who they want or what they want. You fill out the voter assistance oath and assist them. And then, yes, the state of Nebraska currently does not have any provision that prevents you from for returning ballots for individuals. There's currently no limit on that. You can request a ballot for two people by yourself, but there's no limit on how many you can return currently in the state of Nebraska.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Did you have any other questions, Megan?
Not at the moment.
Okay. I just had a couple. I was, I really appreciated learning about all of the accessibility for whether we're talking about mail-in, the early voting, but also the accessibility at the polling place. And you talked about the number of people that are needed to run an election, especially a presidential. So could you talk just a little bit about the training? Because I know that people with disabilities, this equipment might be there, but when people have went to the sites, have struggled with being able to really access and understand how to use it. And the other part is that there are some people who really struggle with wanting to even use technology. So sometimes in the past, they've been able to take somebody, a family member, into the booth, and that has been, they've had to have calls to the election commissioner's office because the poll workers didn't know some of those. Could you talk a little bit about the training?
Sure, absolutely. So, first and foremost, I just want to say we just need to remember that most of these are volunteers and we only do elections basically in even numbered years twice a year. So, we believe they do the best they can, and they do. But we do have training. Our training is all online now. There's a whole section on the disability training. There's there should be, or there always is, what we call an inspector at the polling place who, um, has a few years, has some elections under their belt, so to speak. So they should be able to answer questions. Yes, if you go to the polling place, you can always take somebody with you, and absolutely, you fill out the voter's assistance oath and somebody can help them. Absolutely. Our poll workers should know how to use these machines from the training. If you don't use them all the time, it may be a little cumbersome, but they should know how. If you ever have an issue on election day, call our office. We have those telephone operators. We can walk you through them. We have district supervisors that supervise like 5 or 6 different locations, and so they are nearby. So we could send a district supervisor if we needed to assist with that. One of the other things that our office has done in the past, and again, if you have a group, we're happy to do this. I know there's I don't know if it's 100% now, but there's a assisted living or apartments, a living facility for visually impaired, and I've gone there and spoken before and taken the machine there ahead of time so people could use it, play around with it, get the feel for it. So if you have groups of disability communities that do meet, or you want to get together and meet, we're happy to bring one of these machines out, give a little demonstration on it, and then let folks use it that way so they're familiar with it before they actually go.
And I just wanted to comment about that because I did just recently retire, but we always worked with the Commission for the Blind closely with your office to make sure that we could borrow equipment. Our
Yep.
staff would get trained, and then we would introduce that equipment, whether it's through some of our group teachings, sharing it with individuals in the blind community. And then I think when we have larger conferences statewide, introducing those types of options and voting rights to people so that they're informed. I want to thank you. I thought the presentation, some of my other questions you answered in the
Oh,
course of your
Okay,
presentation.
great.
But the,
One of the other things, real quick, is usually Radio Talking Books
mhm,
will have me on before the election, historically in the past. And so we'll take one of the machines and, play with it and over the air and stuff. So that's been, I think, a great tool too, especially for the visually impaired. Now, obviously, that doesn't get all disability groups,
right.
but for the visually impaired.
But that's where, understanding, taking a look and addressing potential barriers, making sure that you have bilingual operators on the day of the election, for people to understand if they're not sure um, about whether it's language, that they have a right to take somebody into the polling place with them. You know, you know those types of things. The more that we can educate people, and that's the purpose of today's meeting, really helps. I guess the one point I really want to, because I know the voter ID is a big issue, that just to reiterate that when people are going to the polling place, as long as they have a photo ID, it doesn't have to be, it can be an expired
Yes,
ID, but
correct.
the picture needs to match the person. So, because people
Yeah,
may have some form and they might worry about, oh, I can't because this is expired. But it,
right.
so just to reiterate that for the public.
Absolutely. And i- I try to emphasize and re-emphasize a couple things. One, the election commission is here to help ensure people's voices are heard. We're not here to present barriers or not have people's voices. We are here to have people's voices heard. And the other big one is if you have any questions at all, please contact our office. 444 vote. Please contact our office, but you must do it before you put that ballot in the ballot box at the polling place or at the drop box, because once you deposit it, unfortunately, there's no retrieving that ballot and changing anything. And any question at all that you may have, just contact our office. We're there to help. We're happy to help.
Well, very good. Well, Megan, I'm just going to check in with anything else.
No, this has been really helpful, and it's great that it gets recorded so we can push it out and, try to dispel any myths or get ahead of any questions people may have as we head into election season.
And also just how the Election Commission office can really help, individuals in the communities. We've got, normally a very diverse board member here, and so that they could share that with individuals. And if they need to um, try equipment early or whatever,
Yeah.
know that that's available. So again, Brian Cruz, we want to thank you
Yeah,
for
of
coming
course.
today. This has been very, very valuable. Um,
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
very good. Well, the only old business I believe that we had um, lingering is that our chair had resigned due to retirement, and we did submit a letter to the mayor's office. There was an unanimous vote last month um, nominating Megan Walls as the vice chair as our recommendation. So we will await a response from the mayor's office. And since we don't have a quorum, there is no other new business. Megan, I don't know if you have any activities or announcements.
Yeah, the only announcement that I have is that Angel Guardians, an organization that provides a variety of services for adults with developmental disabilities, is having their annual gala on October 9th. And it's going to be pretty cool. There'll be some fun interaction with the Creighton men's basketball team. So if you go to their website, which I should have pulled up, which is angelguardians.org, their annual gala information would be there, but it's October 9th.
Okay, thank you so much. And I don't have any announcements at this time, so I'm going to take a few minutes to thank our sign language interpreter for her assistance, Jamie Elker, and Cox Communication for taping and broadcasting the meeting on Cox Channel 22 each Monday evening at 5 p.m. and as a live broadcast during our meeting on Cox Channel 18. Our next meeting is on October 23rd. So we want to thank everyone for joining us today, and our meeting is adjourned.